Welcome back to Let's Make a Game, a channel about making computer role-playing games using the free program Twine and the Sugarcube format for Twine. In this video, I would like to speak, for the last time, at least for a while, about my efforts to improve Beneath an Emerald Sky, the game that I made during the 30-day challenge. In the last video, and for a couple of videos before that, I've been talking about the code that I added to the testing mode of the game, which allows me to run the game in a special way where it doesn't present a game that the player can play, but instead automatically runs through the game itself several hundred times in order to come up with some statistics about which characters are better in the hope of balancing the different characters. In this video, I'm going to talk about the actual results of that code. So what you get in the testing mode of the game is a sort of printout of each run of the game. It gives you the text that the player would get, and it gives you messages like that you lose 1 willpower, or that you're rolling against charisma and you succeeded, and so on. That's not the main point of it. That's just for the programmer to look at to make sure that it's going through the story properly. It's going through the story as a player would have gone through it, because of course if it's not doing that, it's not testing the experience of playing the game, and therefore it's not giving you accurate results. From what I've looked at, it does seem to be going through it properly, but the meat of it, the thing you really want to look at, is right down the bottom, where it gives you some statistics about the different characters. It tells you how often each character won. So it's telling you that, for example, character 1, the gambler, won 19 times out of the 100 times that it sends each character through the game. And then it gives you the average attributes of the winners and the average attributes of the losers, broken down by character. So when it says average attributes of winners, this is the average attributes of the 19 gambler characters that won. And the average attributes of the losers is of the gambler characters that lost. The purpose of that is to see if there's a big discrepancy between the two. That might indicate that a particular attribute is either too important for that character or not important enough for that character, depending on whether the winner's attribute or the loser's attribute is higher. We want the different attributes to be worth roughly the same. So let's have a look at the actual results. Well, firstly, let's talk about how often each character won. The gambler won 19 times. The farmer 29 times, the scientist 22 times, and the detective 16 times. So we have 3 characters that are very close, 16, 19, and 22 victories. That's tolerably close to being balanced, but 29 times is obviously way more. So we can certainly conclude that the farmer is a little bit too good. And we might ask ourselves, why is that? Well, it might be because of attributes. The farmer is distinguished by having high stamina, so perhaps stamina is a little bit too good in the game, and we might deal with that by, for example, having fewer places where the player loses stamina, fewer places where there are rolls against stamina, or we might make the consequences of failing less bad. We might make the consequences of winning less good. We might turn some of the occasions where a character loses stamina into occasions where there's instant death, so the stamina score won't matter. Or we might find that it is to do with specific points in the game where the farmer experiences different things. That is a thing that I've coded into the game. Certain things happen differently depending on which character you are, because you're considered to have a sort of different background, different skills to some extent. And I don't want to talk about it too much because it involves spoiling part of the game which I added recently, but I do think the latter is the actual reason. I think that something I added in the new part of the game probably advantages the farmer a little bit much. The other thing we could look at is the attributes. Are there big differences between the winning and losing attributes? And actually, no, we don't find a lot of difference. We don't find that the gambler is winning with much higher agility than when they lose, for example. The differences are always 1 or 2 points, and I don't want to really act on that because it could be random chance, and you don't want to readjust the balance based on just a freak of statistics. I would want to maybe note them down and run it again, and we might find that, yeah, there are some consistent differences. The charisma is consistently higher when the gambler wins than when they lose, for example. Or we might find that they're not. That can seem a little bit disappointing. We didn't sort of find any really big differences, but negative results are still results, and that's quite good, actually, because it shows that it at least hints that there's not an attribute that's way too good or way too bad. So that is all that I'm going to say in this video, and I'm actually not going to talk further about Beneath an Emerald Sky. I'm going to start a new project next video, but I'll talk about that when we come to it. I'll leave it there for now. I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.